Stolovich. So without any further ado, my friends, I'm going to pin his video so that everyone can see him. It is truly my honor and my pleasure to welcome Colonel Stolovich, who's here with us today in honor of Yom Hazikaron. As mentioned, he's truly, and I know it's going to embarrass him, but he's truly one of the great heroes of our nation, who dedicates his days and his nights, not just for the sake of the Jewish state, but for the sake of our safety. Here, even in Scottsdale, Arizona, there are thousands of operations which he participated in and led. Many of them cannot be exposed. Maybe we'll get a taste of them today. But beyond all of his amazing accolades, and we can go on and on, of course, stands the great pride of Avinoam, his daughter, Shlicha Ayelet, who was dedicated to our community and continues to be dedicated to our community now from Israel up until the COVID-19. She was here physically with us, and now she continues amazing work, including the brochure that
and also Choshen.
And Friday, Nachon, Ayelet and Choshen. The brochure that you saw on Friday was designed and made by them. They continue to be with us and will continue to be with us, I would say, forever and ever. So thank you, Ayelet and Choshen also. And Bechavod Avinoam, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Rabbi Alush. And it's a great honor speaking to the community again. In difficult times like the COVID-19, it is very important to be able to see the good things that come out of it. And for myself, I can say that this is the good thing that came out of this for us, because Ayelet came back home. We really appreciate the fact that she was a shlicha at your community, but we are very happy to have her with us here again. And maybe if everything goes well, maybe she will be back in Arizona to be part of the community physically.
Amen.
And I can assure you that we see how Ayelet is connected to the community. Even though she's here, she's always thinking about people back there and speaking about it. So thank you very much for giving us back, Ayelet, and we'll be in touch about if she comes back or not. I was asked by Rabbi Alush to speak a little bit about Yom Hazikaron, which is the day of memory that we have here in Israel, but I think not only here in Israel, but all over the world, wherever there is a Jewish community, it could be felt that this is a very sacred and holy day. It is not the day of memorial of a specific personal soldier, but it's, I think, the day of the memorial of our country, of our nation. Understanding this is a very important part of this Yom HaZikaron, meaning we're not looking for a specific someone, but thinking about the whole sifas that comes out of all the different people in our great heroes that were during the years able to sacrifice their life in order for us to keep on as a nation and as a state here in Israel, even though we have so many enemies all around us. And for the last 25 years or so, I've been in the army. I've had a lot of opportunities to see these things by myself, to see how young Israeli soldiers, sometimes even American Jewish soldiers that come to be here as lone soldiers. We have a lot of soldiers that I've met in Golani, where I spent my first 18 years in the army, and seeing them, how brave they are, how it is so simple for young guys to be there when needed by our nation and by our state in order to go go into combat in tough times, which are not. This is not something that is so simple for people to understand and to see it. And time after time, seeing it, how these young soldiers go ahead and look to death in the eyes and are willing to sacrifice sometimes even do sacrifice their lives in order for our nation to keep on and for this state to be so brave, even though we have so many enemies. And this day, I would like to speak a little bit about someone personal that I met. His name is Bnaya Rein, and he's the brother of my wife. He's a Yelet's uncle. He was a squadron commander in the army, and in 2006 in the Second Lebanon War. He was in between two duties and in a vacation. He took a vacation because he was supposed to become a squadron commander in a specific battalion, and had a 2-week vacation. Went to hike abroad, and when he heard that the Lebanon War started, he just took the first flight back to Israel, came to his battalion and said, "I'm here. Give me soldiers. Give me the opportunity to go inside." And he was told by his brigade commander, "We don't have a squadron for you today because it's not your duty yet. You were supposed to come 2 weeks from now. There's another squadron commander. So go back home, stay with your family, and if we'll need you, we'll call you." And Bnaya said, "No way. There's no way that I will go back home when there are soldiers in combat and when people in the north of Israel are taking big missiles and people casualties in all over the country of Israel." And he said, if they're not at home, then I cannot be at home either. And what he did, he started training new soldiers before going into Lebanon. And after 1 week, he came to the battalion commander and said, "Okay, now give me 2 tanks. I'll go inside Lebanon and I'll do whatever you want." And he just called upon a couple of soldiers, said, who wants to volunteer to be with me in my force? The force was called Bnaya's force because his name was Bnaya, and there was no in the army we have a code for every squadron, but there was no real squadron that's called Bnaya. But because he made it up, volunteered for it, and they called it Bnaya's force. And what we know from people that were there, and I was at the same time I was deputy commander of a battalion myself, not far away from him, and we know that what he did is he took these 2 tanks and became a special force that goes to solve any problem that was around. He put on his walkie-talkie or whatever it's called in the tank. I don't know the word in English. He was listening to every channel that was there from different battalions and different squadrons around him. And every time that he heard something bad is going everywhere, people say that before they were even calling for help, they already heard the Bnaya say, "This is Bnaya. I'm on the way to help." And that's what he did for something like 3 weeks in the war. Every time that was help needed, he went. Are you hearing me, Rabbi Alosh? Because I'm speaking,
yes,
and I hope
we're all
you
hearing
hear.
you. Yeah, I'm hearing you very well. I think everyone else is also.
So Bnaya for these 3 weeks since he came into Lebanon, he was always going. It's amazing because more than 10 years after, we're now 14 years after that, we still meet people that didn't know Bnaya before the war, and so many people are saying he's the one that saved us in the war. It could be saved by really saving their life. It could be bringing them water or whatever was needed during that war. And Bnaya was really everywhere. That's what people say. And the fact that he was, because I can tell you, sometimes when you go into hard battles, once you're in there, you don't have to think about anything else. You don't have to think about the war. You don't have to think about the enemy. You don't have to think about the enemy. You don't have to think about the soldiers. You don't have to think about the people. You don't have to think about anything else. You just have to focus on what you have to do. Sometimes when you go into hard battles, once you're in there, you don't think too much, and it could be very tough, but you're into it. There's a battle going around you, and you're into the battle, and you know what you need to do, and you do it. But the big difficult that Naya talked to me about, we were able to talk during the war once, is the fact that he was always going inside and back outside because he was rescuing people back to the border, and he needed to get his crew to be brave enough in order to go back inside to the battle again and again. And that is something much more difficult because, as I said, if you're into it, then you're into it. You know, you need to every time and get them out of the battle, and then you need to go back again. It's something very difficult. And the young soldiers that were with Naya, Manigut, because leadership is special leadership. That was something very special, very calm, very thinking always about others. That was very special. In one day before the war ended, it was Saturday night, right after Havdalah. Again, someone called for help because they needed to be for rescue. And Benaya took his tank and went into there, and a missile hit his tank, and all 4 of the soldiers that were in the tank were killed by that missile. Benaya was the commander. The other 3 soldiers, one was called Adam, the other was called Uri, and the 4th was called Alex. And this tank is a very famous tank because it was uniting all kinds of different people in Israel. Naya grew up in a settlement. My wife's parents were one of the first families going into into the settlements. He was a religious settlement, right wing, and together with him in this tank was the son of David Grossman, which is one of the famous authors, which is very, very left wing, opposite side of these of Naya. And these are 2 soldiers that were together the whole war. That if you would ask each and every one of them what are the values that he goes that bring him, different values bring them into this, but it unites them when difficult time comes and you need to go and defend your country. Then you put aside all the differences and you find so many things that unite us and make us one together. And the 3rd soldier that was there was Adam Goen, which was from a kibbutz, which is also a secular, not a T. And the 4th was someone that came from Russia with his family, made Aliyah from Russia. And so this tank is like, it's like the story of Israel, having Jewish religious with new Olim, all kinds of people, but united together and put aside their privacy, put aside what they think each other different from each other, and find a way to go together and do good for the country. Don't think about themselves, but think about the others. Rabbi Alosh, I don't know if it's the time to say Dvar Torah, but I will say something from our old books, that there's a saying by the Rambam, that when someone goes to war in Israel, out of the Lord and fighting for that and not for his family. And when you see this, it strikes you as very hard to understand. Why forget your family when you go into war? And I think the meaning is that when we go to war in Israel, we need to be fighting for the country and for the nation. If we have something and private thoughts, we need to put them all aside and think about our nation, think about our country, and think about Hashem. And when we do that, unite and give us the strength to go into battle. And I can say that a lot of times when I was in different operations, it was something that I said to myself when I start the operation: put everything aside. Know that the guys around you are all fighting for the same reason. We want to fight for the land of Israel and for the Jewish country, for the Jewish nation. There's a saying that if someone knows mathematics, then there's a nice saying that says, we have a week ago we were remembered about Yom HaShoah, the day of the memory of the Holocaust, and a week after that, every year we have this day, which is the day of the memorial of our soldiers, brave soldiers that gave their life for this country. And there is a saying that it's a mathematic question to see how much it cost us without a country and with our Israeli soldiers, and how much it costs us with Israeli soldiers. Because when we didn't have a country and we didn't have our army, it costs us 6 million of our nation. And when we have a country, and this day is a very hard day in Israel, because everyone has within his family someone that he knows that passed away in the army. But instead of having it 6 million, we have 27,741 soldiers that were killed in action in Israel to this day. So it's very, very out front that you can see that when we have a country and when we have our soldiers, then we are responsible for our nation. We are responsible for our faith. And if people will stay united and do it for thinking not about how they can save themselves, but how they can do something good for the other, and how can we do something good for other my colleagues, the soldiers around me, and the state of Israel and the Jewish nation at all, then I think this is what gives me the strength when I go into hard places. I have many more stories about operations and soldiers, and I think I said the main thing that I think is important is putting yourselves and your own safety aside and being able to think about your country.
All right, Toda Avinoam, thank you so very much. If I may, just in conclusion, 2 quick questions. Question number 1, and can you hear me? You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, Yofi. So question number 1.
Yeah, I can hear you, Rabbi.
Okay, so like you've said, you've dedicated over 25 years of your life, really, to the Jewish people. If there is one most memorable moment in all of your years of service until this very second, which one is it? And I know many of them probably you can't share with us, but which one is it? And question number 2, out of Yom Hazikaron in general, and out of the dedication that you and your peers have for our nation, what lesson can we take for our personal lives here living in Scottsdale, Arizona? If there's one out of the many lessons we can take, which one would you point us to? So again, the most memorable moment in your 25 years of dedication to our people, and 2, a lesson we can all take here into our personal life.
My personal one personal moment. I had a very very good friend that was that's called Roy Klein. Maybe you've heard of him.
Yeah.
He was a deputy commander of a battalion in Golani, and the Second Lebanon War. He died during combat in Binjbel, which is a big village in Lebanon. And he was a friend of mine, and we used to study with our rabbi every Friday when we were away from when we could come home from the army. We would meet every Friday for an hour of learning together and preparing our souls to these moments. And when he was in Lebanon in Binjbel, there was a very, very hard combat that he was inside, and going into near the house. He was ambushed with his force, and I remember that that the last moment of his breath, he was saying he jumped on a grenade that was thrown to the yard. A couple of soldiers wounded were lying around there, and when he saw that, he jumped on that grenade, and by doing that, he saved the life of a couple of his soldiers, but died himself. And on the last moments of his life, of his breath, he had we have a special it's not a phone, but it's something like a phone that is with special that Hatspana. It has secrets in the phone that the other side cannot understand, and it's a very important phone that cannot fall. We last moments, the two taking out the phone and hardly being able to bring his hand and giving the phone to someone, and said, "Keep this phone so it doesn't fall into the enemy's hands." And I think these two things show the greatness of Roy, which was a great friend. That in one side he was all crying aloud, Shema Israel, thinking about and understanding what's needed to be done now, knowing he's going to die, and knowing what's needed to do. So it combines two of the things that I think are very unique for our soldiers and for our commanders. On one side, being with a great soul, not loving the war. We don't love war. We don't love fighting. We would rather, we pray for peace every day. But when needed to go into war, it is something that we need to know how to do it calm and professional. And I think that's the moment that shows me these two things together.
Beautiful.
That's my special moment. But I have I chose one. You probably understand that there's a lot of moments like that, but not like that, but a lot of moments. But this is the one I would cherish with me today. And asking me what I think is something that you can take from this day to your community. I think these days of I don't know how it is in Arizona today, but here in Israel, we are today. Everyone stays in their home. I go every day to the army, so I'm the only one going out. All the family are staying inside, and people could look at that and think that that they're alone in the world. Everyone sits in their own house. Even though we have Zoom and we can speak to each other, but it could be times of loneliness, feeling alone, feeling that you're not. And I think the day that we're having today, Hazikaron and Yom, we are never alone. And I think the stronger the community would be together in Arizona, and the stronger that the community feels connected to us here in Israel, by shlichot like Choshen and and by moment of Israel, feeling it in these 2 days, I think reminds everyone that you are not alone, and we are with you, and you need to fight for that. You know, here in Israel, we feel together because we're in Israel. But I'm sure that in Arizona, you need to fight day by day in order to be connected, in order to be to feel that you are one of this great Jewish nation, and you're connected to the state of Israel. And I think if Rabbi Yalush, if you and I've seen it in my eyes being in Arizona with Ayelet, the great community that you have around you. And I think this is the big thing of this day, to be connected to each other and to be connected to the state of Israel.
Amen. Thank you so much, Avinoam. Really, we so appreciate your words, most importantly, your heart and the dedication that really is shining through you, that you have for our nation and for our state. And it's something that we all ought to learn from. I will say this, and maybe I'll just conclude with this, but both you and Ayelet, that is on the screen, Ashlicha, really represent the best of our nation. But you're the best of our nation because you never, as you so beautifully said, you never think about what you want, you think about what our nation and what our world needs. And halevai, if only we can start thinking like that too, then we'll be united, not just spiritually, but united in purpose of dedication and devotion. And then we'll join your efforts to protect our land and to bring redemption to our world. But until then, until that redemption comes, we will continue to sing Voiz Shema Yisrael, your Shema Yisrael out loud, each in our own way, with yet another mitzvah, yet another way of dedicating ourselves to the other, not just to ourselves, and learning from heroes like you that really embody the Shema Yisrael, the collective Shema Yisrael of our nation now and forever. We thank you, and as we say here each and every Shabbat, God should protect you, bless you, and all of the soldiers of the IDF forces, and bring you a tremendous victory in every aspect of your work. And Bezrat Hashem, peace and Geula Amitit, true redemption individually and collectively. Thank you on behalf of all of us. Thank you for everything. We're with you. Thank you so much.